Good morning. Happy Sunday to you guys. Today I want to talk on, do you know your worth? Sometimes we think that we know our worth, but we don't really know what that worth is. What does your worth look like? What does your worth feel like? What do you believe your worth is when you get into a relationship space and you allow yourself to settle for less than you truly deserve? And I'm not talking about worth in terms of facial value or in terms of material values. I'm talking about your worth based on who you are. Do you really value yourself and do you really know your worth? That's the question this morning. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to join. If you're joining, I invite you to share this with others and let us kind of reason together this morning on knowing your worth. What is your worth? Do you really know your worth? And how are you presenting your worth to others to see so that they can embrace you for who you are and not what you want them to believe, not who you want them to accept, not who you want them to see, but they really see your true value and they know your worth. Do you really know your worth in terms of not settling for less than you truly deserve, in terms of not feeling that everybody's getting into a relationship space, so it means that you have to get into that space? Do you really know your worth when you're presenting yourself to others to really see who you truly are? Or are you presenting what you believe they need to see rather than them seeing you in the true light of who you are, in your true essence? It's like God giving you a seed, and that seed is your own life. And you take that seed and you give it away to somebody else to go plant it. But when you give your seed away to somebody else to go plant it, you don't expect them to bring back the harvest to you because you've already given it away. You've already given yourself away for them to treat as however they want to treat you. But you have to come to the point of accepting that you're giving your seed away without expecting any harvest because you chose not to plant the seed. But if you really know your worth and you really look at the seed that God has given to you, your life, you will value yourself more than allow other people to treat you for less than you're truly worth. Do you really know your worth when you're making people trying to accept you than making them see the value that you truly are? Do you really know your worth when you choose to be with someone who ill-treats you, abuses you, disrespects you, but you don't even see you need to respect yourself so that when other people come into your space, they can respect you for who you truly are? Do you really know your worth? What does your worth look like, feel like, is like to you? One of the things I always share is that no one can place a value on you except you see it. No one can place a value that you haven't placed on yourself except you begin to see your value. Sometimes we look at ourselves and we say, oh, I value myself, I know my worth, but we're measuring our worth by the material wealth that we have. But material wealth can never buy your worth. The worth that God has placed on your life, material wealth can never buy that. Neither can face value buy that. Your worth happens to be who you are to the core. But when you don't see who you are to the core, other people can't see it. And you can't make them accept it. Because if they can see it, they won't value it. And you have to really come to the place of seeing it yourself. Because when you try to make them see it, it will not be real. It will not be authentic. It will not be true. And what you try to make them see is what you're trying to force them to accept. But no one can force love. No, if you don't know that you are love yourself, you can't force anyone to see it. And when you try to force it, it will not last. It would only bring you pain. But really knowing your worth and choosing not to settle is you valuing you first. It's like trying to get a college education. You know that you have to pay the tuition before you can get the degree. That's the same thing when you choose to invest in yourself so that you can begin to value yourself more. Take courses. These are things that they don't teach us in life, but we have to learn on our own. Nobody teaches us about life and relationships. We get thrown into the world to really find ourselves out, to really take that seed of life that God has given to us and begin to really plant it. And as long as we're planting it, by investing in ourselves, we really begin to see our values. Without knowing our worth, we begin to self-doubt. And you can't really self-love when you don't really know your worth. So the question is, what are you investing in with that seed that God has placed in your hand, your life, to begin to really see your worth, to begin to really see your value, to begin to really learn about what you need, and not see that it's a failure, because failure is what you choose to accept. And when you choose to accept what you think that you failed at, you will never have the opportunity to try it again, to really be able to determine if you're worth trying it, if you're worth knowing it, if you're worth receiving it. Do you really know your worth? That's the question and the challenge for this week as we start a new week. Your worth cannot be determined by anyone else but by yourself. And the more you begin to see value, when you begin to invest in yourself, when you begin to plant your seed, when you begin to really know what you're made of and who you truly are, you choose not to settle. Choices. Knowing our worth determines the choices that we make. But if you don't really know your worth, you will make poor choices that will result in consequences that you have to face when you give your seed, the seed of your life, to somebody else to go plant it. And you're demanding a harvest from them, but it was something you never really planted. But if you don't plant a seed and you don't water your seed, you don't expect a harvest. And the harvest doesn't come easy. You have to really labor to really get the harvest. You have to go out there to begin to harvest whatever your seed is germinating. It takes work to get there. And it's investing in yourself, getting trained, getting coached, getting counseled, getting, therapy, if therapy is needed, whatever you need to really help you begin to determine your worth. Stop putting face value on what you're worth, because face value doesn't determine your worth. You have to know yourself inside out, know and understand yourself inside out to be able to really value yourself. When you try to make someone to accept you for who you are, you're trying to force them to love you for who you're not. Let me say that again. When you're trying to force someone or make them to see who you are, you're trying to force them to accept you for what you're not. Because you can't force anyone to see what they haven't really. You can't force them to see what they haven't seen from their own perspective. You have to really allow them to come into your space when you know what you're worth and really see it. And when they see it, they treat you with the respect that you have first for yourself. What they see is what they will accept. But when you don't see your worth, you will choose to allow other people to accept what they don't see and trample over you and abuse you and mistreat you. And you would also set unrealistic expectations that will never be met, that will leave you disappointed. Today, I want you to really take a moment and sit within yourself and ask yourself, what am I really worth? Do I really know my worth? Am I settling for less? Am I trying to force myself into a space where somebody is not accepting me? Because when you try to do that, you're only going to hurt yourself and you can't move beyond the pain. You're going to hold on to the hurt, the resentment, the bitterness. But the moment you begin to find your value and begin to love yourself, begin to know and understand yourself, begin to plant your own seed by working hard and laboring so that when it's time to harvest, you're harvesting the fruit of your own labor. And when it's time to actually go out there and allow people to see what you've grown, the flowers, the fruits that you've grown based on knowing your own worth, they can also begin to see the value of who you are without you trying to make them see it. What is your worth? And how are you working towards discovering your worth? What courses are you taking? I had to really come out of my own shell 6 years ago when I chose to invest in coaching. I had 3 coaches, and I still have those coaches in my life. I had to go beyond what I knew. I had to discard everything I knew because I thought I knew myself, but I did not know half of who I was. So I had to invest in 3 coaches in my life to really help me. And I also have mentors that I go to that really help me begin to really discover who I was. And in that moment of discovering myself, I've shared it so many times, I became a multi-award winning author, an internationally award winning author, an international speaker, and a certified professional coach, now supporting other people to find who they are, experience love, so that they can also know their worth and not settle for less, to help them build on healthier relationships that will make their lives become better, not bitter. When you don't know your worth, you're going to self-doubt yourself, and you're going to be putting yourself in places where you don't belong. When I started to really know my worth, I started to look back at all the stupid things I did, and I was like, wow, I didn't really know. Now I'm coaching people all over the globe: India, Dubai, the US, the UK, Australia, South Africa. I never thought I would be in this space. But when I knew my worth, I realized that I was empowered with so much. And without knowing your worth, you will never know what you're made of. I had to come to own my truth. I had to put away with the facade. I had to stand up tall and say, you know what? God made me a seed, and this seed I'm going to really sow and make it grow and know my worth when I begin to harvest the fruits of my labor. Without you knowing your worth, you're going to put yourself in a relationship you don't belong. And you will not let people really see the true you, because you don't know the true you yet. The true you is so gifted. The true you is so empowered. But without knowing your worth, you will never really discover the true you. I tell you, I look back now at my life and I say, wow, I sat so long without knowing my worth, without knowing what I was made of. And I was putting myself in relationships I did not belong. Because sometimes we think about relationships that are meant to be friendships, and we turn them into romantic relationships that they're not meant to be. But when you know your worth, you're able to recognize who is meant to be a friend and who is meant to be in a solid romantic relationship with you, who's meant to grow with you, who's meant to be in your space. You don't just invite everyone and let them trample upon you. When you know your worth, you're able to stand tall for your truth. You're able to be patient with yourself, knowing that, yes, the love may not come, but I'm complete. I'm whole. I don't have to be in a space because I feel lonely. You feel full. You wouldn't be emptying your cup constantly for other people to drink from it, and you begin to thirst. What is your worth? And what are you willing to do to find your worth? Know it, own it, stand up for it. Because let me tell you, people would always have an opinion, but when you know your worth, their opinion will not matter to you. So today I'm really encouraging you to find your worth, to know you, to understand you, to equip and empower yourself. Self-empowerment is very vital to your growth. And when you know your worth, you begin to really invest in courses and training and really being in that space of really self-discovery that no one can give to you. It's a gift that God has given to you. That seed of your life is a gift. But what you do with that seed will determine how far you grow and go in life, without self-doubting yourself, without settling for less than you truly deserve. What are you going to do with that seed today? What are you going to invest in to help you really, really boost that seed to begin to grow? We all know sometimes we have to plant flowers in our gardens, and you have to give them the plant food for them to grow. It's the same thing with the seed of your life. Without really learning and unlearning and relearning, you won't know what you're made of. So today, I really want you to think about this. Sit in the moment with yourself and ask yourself, do I really know my worth? Am I settling for relationships that are depleting me than helping me to grow and discover me? Ask yourself that question, because you really want to be authentic. You want to be true. You want to be in a relationship that will make your life become better, not bitter. You may be married and saying, we have so many conflicts. It may be because you haven't discovered yourself and you don't really know your worth yet. And you're already in a relationship that you want to work on to make it happen, to make it a lifetime, but you need help. You need support to discover you, to know what you're made of, to know your worth so that you can build better with your partner. I invite you to come into this space with me and learn. I'm helping couples, I'm helping singles, I'm helping single moms, I'm helping single dads to really find their worth. It's worth knowing. When you really discover you and you know your worth, I tell you, everything changes for you. The peace that you would have, no one can give to you. The discovery that you make when you find yourself, no one can make it but you. And the process of self-discovery is the process of self-empowerment towards your growth, creating a beautiful life that no one can give to you, but God has already given to you for you to go out there and discover it. You have to discover it before you bring another person into the picture so that they can see your worth when they come into your own space. And you both can create a beautiful life and allow God to build your fairy tale than build your fairy tale based on other people's stories and what you see. Do you really know your worth? And what are you willing to do to discover your worth? If you feel like this has resonated with you, I invite you to feel free to ask me questions about this right now, and I can begin to help you get answers to your questions. I'll give it a few minutes to take your questions if you do have questions. And if you don't have questions, I would ask you to please email me or inbox me so I can help you get started. Email me at coaching@kemishogunle.com and I can help you get started in this journey of finding you. I found myself 6 years ago, and I tell you what, it's been an amazing journey, and I can never go back to settling for less than I truly deserve now that I know me. I'm in such a beautiful space in my life, and love has really come into my life, and I'm really living out the true me, the authentic me that God created by planting my own seed and not giving my seed away anymore. So again, I invite you, feel free to email me to ask your questions and to get support. coaching@kemishogunle.com. You can also inbox me on Facebook, share this video with those who you know that need to hear this word and help spread love so that we all can build healthier. We can stop being resentful, we can move beyond the pain and begin to have the life that God deemed for us when He created us as good enough. But without knowing your worth, you may never know you're good enough. So I invite you again, feel free, inbox me, email me, and let's get started to a brand new you. We're already in the middle of, almost at the end of May. We're about to start the third quarter of the year. We're starting June. June is a beautiful month to begin without holding yourself back, without, really self-doubting yourself, but gaining an awareness and growing. Always remembering that the butterfly can never return to become a caterpillar once it discovers itself. Again, I invite you to connect with me, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. You all have an amazing Sunday and an amazing week ahead, and God bless. Bye-bye.